doing ethics after a lot of years. So there are total 17 standards. अच्छा 7 है. कुछ लोगों को टेंशन आ गया सोच के कि मेरे अभी 10 बाकी है. Alright. So guys, standard number 1, professionalism. Now the strategy is we are going to read the theory, and then whatever circumstances that I can think of, I would discuss them with you, especially in the context of examples given in the curriculum and end of the chapter question, and then we would try to learn out of it. So professionalism, which has 4 subparts: knowledge of law, independence and objectivity, misrepresentation and misconduct. So we are jumping on to knowledge of law. So first, members and candidates must understand and comply with all applicable laws, rules and regulation, including code of ethics. Okay, so important here, understand. So you should know what the law is and comply. In case of conflict, comply with the more strict law, rules or regulation. Members and candidates must not knowingly participate or assist or must disassociate from violation of laws, rules and regulation. Are we okay? So imagine a scenario where there are 3 people researching on a stock or trading on a stock, and then you get to know that one of the group members is involved in violations, okay, some illegal activity. So you know that and you decide to ignore, then it would be a violation even if you were not actively a part of that group. So guidance in case of conflict. So members must know laws and regulation related to their professional activity in countries where they work or conduct business. Now imagine a scenario where you have you are not aware of one of the securities law, and unknowingly you've committed a violation of the law. Is it a violation of code or ethics? Yes, because you're supposed to know the laws of the areas in which you're working. If they have to decide between local laws and code and standards, they must stick to the more stricter rules. However, never violate code and standards even if the activity is otherwise illegal, otherwise legal. For example, you staying in a country where insider trading is promoted or allowed. So even if that is the case, if you are involved in insider trading, then that would be a violation. Okay, now some guidance here. So participation or association with violation by others. So this is one section. Members must dissociate or separate, but separation does not mean resignation always. Unless and until you are in a scenario where remaining a part of the firm would always remain a violation of code and ethics. If that is the case, then resignation could be a last step. So does not mean resignation themselves from any ongoing. So disassociate from ongoing client or employee activity which is illegal. Extreme cases, you might have to leave the employer. So what do you do if you get to know that someone else is involved into illegal activities? So confront the individual. If confrontation fails, approach the supervisor. Continued association may be construed as a knowing participation. Now, recommended procedures for compliance. I am sure you know by this time that there is a required component and then there is a recommended component. Recommended component is where the mock exams have tested a lot of questions recently. So you should be, now this is the ethics class. Yeah, I have a lot of dilemma here, but you should be really good with the recommended part. Okay, most of the guys they focus on the required part and ignore recommended, and that's where I think the real juice is. So recommended part. Members should establish procedures which ensure employees are updated with applicable laws. So procedures to ensure employees are updated with applicable laws. Compliance laws must be reviewed on an ongoing basis in order to ensure that they address the prevailing laws, standards and regulations. Members should maintain current reference material for employees in order to keep up-to-date information in the organization. In case of doubt, seek advice of a counsel. Document violation when they disassociate from prohibited activity. Remember, documentation of violation is a recommended practice. Members should encourage their firm to persuade the perpetrators to end such activity. Under some circumstances, it may be advisable or required by law to report the violations to government authorities. Okay, but just because you did not report that violation to the CFA Institute or did not report that violation to government authority does not mean you violated code and ethics. Reporting to the government or CFA Institute is not mandatory. It might be necessary in certain circumstances, not always. Standards do not require members to report violations to government authorities. So again, I'm going to highlight this sentence one more time. They do not require members to report violations to the government authorities. Members are strongly encouraged to report other members' violation of code and standards. Encouraged. Are we okay with this? Then recommended procedure for compliance for a firm. So develop a code of ethics. So I think original videos you might have heard the discussion. A lot of firms have their own set of code of ethics. Provide information which highlights applicable laws and regulations. Then establish written procedures for reporting suspected violations of the law. Are you following this? Members in charge of supervision should be aware and comply with regulations, must be aware and comply with regulations of countries where products and services will be sold. Okay, so this was 1A, knowledge of law. I think the key point to take away from this that you're going to remember for the exams. So number one, we comply with the more stricter laws. Then if there are no laws, then you simply comply with code of ethics. Then if there is a violation by others, then you should confront and then disassociate yourself and report to the supervisor. It is not mandatory to report to the government or report to the CFA Institute. Then recommended procedure is update your employees on the current laws. Then have a written set of code and ethics. Then provide them regular training. These are the recommended practices. Alright, let's do 1B, which is independence and objectivity. Members and candidates must use reasonable care and judgment to achieve and maintain independence and objectivity. Do not accept any gift or any type of consideration that compromise their own or another's independence and objectivity. Okay, now here in this particular standard, the discussion is on a general objectivity, and then standard 3 and standard 4 we also have specific discussion of receiving gift from the employers or receiving gift from the clients. So guidance here: investment process must not be influenced by the external sources. So what does it mean? So imagine a scenario where your firm has a corporate finance business and equity research business, and then before issuing a report you talk to the CEO of the concerned company because you do not want to make him unhappy and lose the corporate finance business, right? So that would be an external source here. Modest gifts by clients are permitted. So I think in the curriculum they have this example of pens being given as a token gift. So if the pens are being given as a token gift, that's going to be perfectly alright. But if those pens happen to be a very expensive high value gold pens, then that would be a violation. So modest gifts are permitted. No, this is ethics, Ashutosh, not law. So again, it's relative, but the idea is See, you have to learn to distinguish between the gift from the clients and the gift from outside parties, the third parties. Now, gift from the clients, generally you can take a slightly lenient approach as long as you're disclosing to the employer or you're taking a written consent from the employer. Gift from the client should not be a big concern. The big concern is when you're taking gift from an external or outside third party. Allocation of shares in oversubscribed IPO to personal account is not permitted. Straightforward case. Do you understand what this means? So you know what is IPO, you know what is oversubscribed. So that would be a violation. Distinguish between gifts from clients and entities seeking influence to the detriment of the client. Then gifts must be disclosed to the employer in any case, either prior to the acceptance or subsequently. Okay, now guidelines, investment banking relationship. Now just to help you build perspective on the way it works is, let us say there's a financial services firm, okay, or advisory firm. They will typically have multiple set of businesses. So one of the businesses investment banking or corporate finance, and then the other business is the research business. Okay. Now what investment banking business does is it helps companies with raising money, typically through IPO, or it might help company through mergers. And research is a classic brick and mortar research that would be sold to buy side clients. Okay. Now the idea is, imagine you're doing research on a company and you have a sell report. Okay, that means you have a negative report. However, the company on which you've done report happens to be one of the clients in the corporate finance division. Then somehow that sell report is going to make that client unhappy, isn't it? And therefore there is an apparent conflict of interest here. That's what we are talking in this section. So do not get pressurized from the sell side analyst to issue a favorable research on current or prospective investment banking client. Disclose conflict and manage these appropriately while working with investment bankers in a roadshow. Do you understand what a roadshow is?
Large chunk of shares.
So roadshow on the road with bike and saffron flags with honk. No? So it's not on the road. Yeah. So roadshow simply means giving information to the investors. Okay. So like it's a fancy term we use in investment banking world. What it simply means is, like, for example, if I'm trying to raise money for some startups, so I have a list of an email list of investors, and then I just shoot an email to all of them saying this is the company, have a look at it. So, but when we deal with the client, we'll tell them that we are planning a roadshow for you, and of course then you can charge a fee to the client for the roadshow. So the idea here is disclose conflict and manage these appropriately while working with investment bankers in roadshow. Make sure that there is an effective firewall between the research and investment banking activities, right? Now, some firms take it very seriously. So when they mean a firewall, they actually also try to build a physical wall between the two sets. Okay, and the whole idea is you do not want people on this side interacting with these sides. So in fact, I know some of the firms where the research guys are not allowed to even initiate discussions with the investment banking guys, because the idea is these people will always have access to some information, correct? Because they are working on clients, mergers and those type of deals. So one is that information can get passed here, and that would be a potential insider trading scenario. Second, that these guys might try to influence the research guys to issue favorable reports on certain sections. So now guidance, public companies. Limit research to discussion with the, do not limit research to discussion with the company management, as in do not put restrictions for research purpose for discussion with the company management. Then use sources like suppliers, customers and competitors. Right? That's a common practice in the industry. you're doing a research, you will talk to competitors, you might talk to distributors. Analysts must not be pressured to issue a favorable research by the companies they follow. Okay. Guidance by buy-side clients. Responsibility of, so do you, before I start, are we crystal clear with sell side and buy side? So who are sell side people? The ones who sell the stocks, and buy side are the ones who only buy the stocks. No. Then? Sorry? So these guys will sell research and these guys will buy research, correct? And then they will use that research. So use for investment. So typically mutual funds, asset management companies are buy side and brokerages are on the sell side. Now we are looking at guidance for the buy side clients. It is the responsibility of the portfolio manager to respect and foster the intellectual honesty of sell side research. Correct? So if you are a buy side manager, you would be given multiple sell side reports and then you have to take decisions based on them. Then portfolio managers must not pressure sell side. Imagine now a situation that you are a buy side analyst or buy side fund manager. There's a stock XYZ in which you have put in a lot of money. Okay, and this is a sell side analyst. So he sent you a report on XYZ and on that there is a sell call. So you immediately call him up and you tell him that if you issue a negative report on this stock, then the value of my portfolio is going to fall significantly. Right? So what you do is for the timing you keep a report on hold and then allow me an opportunity to sell my stock, and then you can issue a report after a week, or you change your rating or whatever. Then that would be a violation. Is that making sense to you? They may have large positions in particular securities. Rating downgrades may adversely affect the portfolio performance. Okay. Then guidance, fund manager relationships. Members responsible for selecting outside managers should not accept gifts, entertainment or travel that might be perceived as impairing independence or objectivity. So as a rule of thumb, generally any gift that's coming from an outsider is a red flag. So we should be inclined more towards the violation side. Then guidance for credit rating agency. Member employed by rating agency should make sure they prevent undue influence by security issuing firms. As in, a firm is issuing bonds, you are going to issue credit rating on them, so you should not be pressurized by the issuer. Members using credit rating must be aware of the potential conflict of interest. Consider whether independent analysis is warranted. So for example, there is a stock or there is a bond on which there is a BBB rating. So you blankly trust that rating even though there is an information available that there might be some conflict of interest. So then that would not be a due and diligent research. Are you following this? Then issuer paid research. Issuer means the company on which you are writing the report, they have paid you to conduct the research. So compensation for such should be limited. It should not be a function of the stock price. For example, you write a research report and then you would be paid some fee depending on how much the stock price goes up. If you accept that compensation, that's a violation. Then there is a preference for flat fee. No reward must be attached with the report's recommendation. Right? For example, a buy report would be paid $10,000 and a sell report would be paid $1,000. So if that is the case, it would again be a violation. Then travel, best practice, pay for your own commercial travel while attending informative events and tours sponsored by the firm being analyzed. Okay, so again curriculum has a lot of examples around it. If the only condition is if you're traveling to a remote area which is not easily accessible, then it is okay to accept the travel, but otherwise the best practice is to pay by yourself. Then recommended procedure for compliance. So protect the integrity of opinions, create a restricted list, remove a controversial company from the research universe. Do you know what a restricted list is?
Yes. Do not issue any type of research.
So you would not issue any opinion about those companies. And typically, for example, let us say, so I was reading one question in the curriculum that you're taking interview of a potential candidate, and that candidate happened to be working in the investment banking division of a competitor. Now, during the process of interview, because he wants to impress you, he talks about how he's built a very comprehensive financial model on one of the merger that's happening right now. Correct? So now you as an interviewer, you have access to that information. So what should you do? Should you share that information with all your clients? Should you use that for research? No. So you should put that stock on the restricted list. Then restrict special cost arrangements. Limit the use of corporate aircrafts to situation in which commercial transportation is not available. Then do not accept tickets of some events or hotel accommodations or
Expensive sometimes.
yacht rides. Yeah. So avoid that stuff. Very tempting. Members and candidates should pay for commercial transportation and hotel charges. Limit the acceptance of gratuities and gifts to token items. Then develop formal policies related to employee purchase of equity or equity related IPOs. Then supervisory procedure, ensure that research analysts are not supervised or controlled by department that could compromise the independence. Appoint a senior officer for oversight responsibilities. Misrepresentation. So again, I think once I finish all of it. Misrepresentation, I came across a question in the curriculum. So this was in one of the level 2 case studies, that there is this analyst who uses a LBO model prepared by a third party, and he uses that model and puts in his own inputs, and that model predicts that what is the probability of the LBO. LBO is leverage buyouts. Now he's going for an interview and he takes that model with himself. So that was the first violation, because he doesn't take a permission of his employer to take that model. And then in the model, he shows how that model is being able to predict the LBO to the interviewer. An interviewer says, I'm very impressed with your model. You've done a really good work here. And he doesn't say anything. Right? So not saying that this model does not belong to me is also a misrepresentation. Are you following this? So he did not lie. He did not say that this model is mine. He just used that model in the interview. But when the interviewer said that your model seems to be very good, he did not reply back by saying that this is not my model. So that is again a violation of this particular standard. So members and candidates must not knowingly make any misrepresentation relating to investment analysis, recommendations or actions. Now guidance. Misrepresentation causes mistrust. Do not give false impression in writing, oral or electronic communication, including social media. Misrepresentation includes guaranteeing investment performance. So again, one more question, where there is a fund which invests into government treasuries, right? And the fund manager says to the client that this fund, the securities, underlying securities in the fund are virtually default free. Okay, did he make a mistake in saying that? No, because he invested into treasuries, so they are default free securities. Then he said, looking at the historical performance, I am sure that you would receive a return of at least 10% per annum on a CAGR basis. Did he make a mistake now? Yes, because now he guaranteed the returns. So you cannot imply that there is a guarantee that you're going to get the returns for the client. Then do you know what plagiarism is? Yes, copy pasting someone else's report. Remember, copy pasting factual data from statistical reporting services is okay. So if you're reporting facts from Fred, have I shown you the Fred website, or World Bank or Bloomberg or Reuters, and you're stating the resource or the source of the data, that's going to be alright. But if you copy paste someone else's material or even a paragraph, then it's important that you cite the right references. Plagiarism, using someone else's work without giving him the credit. Misrepresentation also includes deliberate omission of information that could affect investment decision. Models and analysis developed by others at firm are the property of the firm. Members can use them without attributing to the developers. Okay, so it's like, let us say myself and Abhishek, we are working in the same firm, and then he's developed a model, and I am using that model in my report. So that model is being developed by him, but that's a property of my firm. Are you following this? So that's going to be okay. But I cannot then claim that I am the developer of the model. Correct? So if you indicate that you are the developer of the model, then it's going to be a violation. A report written by another analyst employed by the firm cannot be released as another analyst's work. So he writes a report and I publish that report as my own, then that's going to be a plagiarism. Recommended procedure for compliance. Firm should provide employees who deal with clients a written list of firm's available services and description of its employee qualifications. Qualification should be accurately presented as well. Avoid plagiarism. Firm must keep records of all sources and cite them. Generally understood and factual information need not be cited. Members should encourage firms to establish procedures for verifying marketing claims of third parties whose information the firm provides to its clients. Are we okay here? Okay, misconduct. So members and candidates must not involve in any professional misconduct, dishonesty, fraud, deceit, commit any act that reflects adversely to their professional reputation. So curriculum example, you go out for lunch, then you get drunk and you go back to office. Is that a violation? Are you sure? Okay. Then you have participated in a protest regarding some belief and you get arrested by the police. Is that a violation? No. So that is alright. Then you were caught stealing in a retail shop. Is that a violation? Yes. So CFI discourages unethical behavior. Okay, you were trying to leak CFA papers the night before. So CFI discourages unethical behavior in all aspects of lives. Do not abuse professional conduct program by seeking enforcement of the standard to settle personal political disputes. For example, you don't like one of your batchmates and therefore you write a mail to CFA Institute saying that he is involved in professional misconduct. If you do that, then that would be a violation by you, not him or her. Recommended procedures for compliance. Firms are encouraged to adopt these policies and procedures to develop and adopt code of ethics and make clear that unethical behavior will not be tolerated. Give employees list of potential violations and sanctions. Check references of the potential employees. Guys, remember the recommended practices. Okay, now 1B, what are we going to remember? See, I'll tell you, thing with ethics is it's something that you need to absorb. Trust me now, like I'm teaching ethics after a lot of time today, so I thought that I was a little rusty. So while you guys were writing mocks, I was solving some questions just to test if I remember. And surprisingly, maybe it's a lucky day, I could almost score, I think there were 48 odd questions, so I could almost score 48 on 48. And then I was thinking why, because during my level 1, level 2, level 3, I did that so many times that it kind of gets absorbed. So the thing with ethics is read, so now you're watching this video and read these notes once and then take as many questions as you can, and every time you get it wrong, read the solution carefully. And then I think you'd realize after some time automatically your hit ratio will improve significantly. So what you need to remember here: independence and objectivity. Remember about the gift part. No gifts are acceptable. Learn to distinguish between gifts from the client and gifts from the third parties. Gift from a third party is a no-no scenario. Gift from a third party is a no-no scenario. Gift from a client is going to be okay as long as it is not detrimental to other clients and you have taken a permission from your employer. Then investment banking. So we discussed that there has to be a barrier between the research division and investment banking division. Then buy side clients should not pressurize the sell side guys. Issuer paid research, remember it should be disclosed. So though it's not written here, it should be disclosed. Then your compensation should not be linked to the performance of the stock. That's a gross violation. Then misrepresentation. Remember that guaranteeing investment performance is violation of 1C. So if you go to someone and say that I promise I'm going to generate 20%, and if you say that, then that's going to be a violation. But again, a scenario where you build a strategy that it generates 20% no matter what, and then you say that, then it's fine. Of course that wouldn't happen, but then you say that, then it's fine. Plagiarism is using someone else's work. So if you're using someone else's work, you should take permission and then cite. But if you're using statistical reporting services, then it's going to be okay. Misconduct. So misconduct doesn't only relate to professional life, it also relates to personal life, all aspects of candidates' lives. Okay. Now, is my level of coverage okay, or you want me to be a little faster or more deeper?